Foster, I know you guys have got to go, but if you can hold 1 minute, you can do 5 more minutes and finish up the solution area that you're discussing. Okay, we'll be back in 60 seconds. Then after that segment, coming up at 8 after, I'll take your phone calls, folks. It's my final day on the road. I'm in Baton Rouge, where we first came through last week. We're back. I'm back in Austin this evening. Pray for us and our safety. I pray for all your safety out there. Your calls, those that are holding, I'll get right to you at the start of the next segment. And we got a bunch of big breaking news on the Ron Paul front, you name it. But we're here right now talking to Foster and Kimberly Gamble, makers of the Thrive film, available at Infowars.com, in a larger movement to try to get people awake to what's happening and really bridge the gap between the control left and right paradigm and just get people back to being basic humans who are trying to build a better, more free society through free association. I'll have to have you guys back up again soon to take calls and also get more into solutions. And I want Kimberly to have a minute or two here to talk about some solutions. But first, I don't get into infighting. I don't do it. And I did, though, 4 or 5 years ago, get the maker of Zeitgeist on and argue with him a little bit, because I said, what if I don't want to go live and have the big centralized computer run everything that'll make it all fair? Because who programs the computer? And he said, well, you'll be re-educated. You'll be taken to a re-education center. And I got mad at him. And then I invited him on trying to be friendly about a year ago, and he said, you've got to agree that I didn't say you have to go to re-education. I'm like, I went and watched the show again, and he did say that. I'm not trying to get in a fight with whatever his stage name is or whatever, Peter Joseph. I didn't try to get in a fight with him. I don't want to fight the Zeitgeist people, but I mean, I'm sorry. A collectivism, from my experience, is a bloody nightmare. And the New York Times, of course, endorsed it and all the rest of it, which is not a good sign. I'm not trying to get in a fight with them, but because you guys are trying to start a movement and having success and bridge the left-right gap and all this stuff, I think you guys are, wholesome and legitimate and mean well. What is your brief comment and then a few final solutions on Zeitgeist and the whole Zeitgeist movement?
Well, I have a lot of respect for Peter Joseph's intention there, and I think he revealed a tremendous amount of useful information in parts of the films. And my main problems with the films were, one, economically. I think that we have a different understanding about money. I don't think money is evil. I think that dishonest money is corrupt and it destroys people's lives and society. But I think a medium of exchange, if it's honest, is always going to be needed and practical. And secondly, I also have a horror of these high-tech collectivist types of cities that, I think a lot of the technology that Jacques Fresco suggests is going to be a terrific assistance to
sure, but the centralization of it is nightmare.
Exactly. I agree.
The Soviets 100 years ago pushed their whole agenda, as you know, in this sci-fi, utopia. And it doesn't build a utopia. It builds a nightmare.
I agree with that. I think we really need to be careful about that. I think it was disingenuous. I think that it was honest on their parts. I think it's an honest misunderstanding of something that they haven't seen really from the liberty versus collectivist point of view and on the economics. But I do disagree in the same way that you're saying.
Well, I've seen some of their events online. It's extreme arrogance and really getting off on they've got the answer. And the truth is we don't have the answer. We need the diversity of liberty is the answer, and it's got to be worked out. Anytime you hear this is the silver bullet, historically, and plus in my gut, run.
Yeah. Right. Well, the person who introduced me to you, Alex, was my son, Trevor, and I will be forever indebted. He was really the one who woke me up to the conspiracy, to what's going on with the money, and also to liberty. I remember the day he said, have you heard of this guy, Alex Jones? And I said, no, what does he do? Well, he makes some movies, and he handed me a stack of movies, that changed my life. And for those of you who may not know what we're talking about with the liberty perspective, he's written a terrific book called The Secrets to Nonviolent Prosperity, the Principles of Liberty, the layout a lot of this in ways that you don't get in casual conversations with people.
I'll tell you what, let's have we're out of time, Kimberly, and I want to get more into solutions. Let's have you back up in a few weeks. If you can do it. It was hard to get you guys on. You're so busy. Come on in a few weeks and bring Trevor along. This is really exciting. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. It's an honor.
And they're on tomorrow on the Nightly News. So they just reminded me of that. So they'll be back tomorrow. Bring Trevor. This is Alex Jones. Okay, here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Carl, Scott, Chris, Kyle, Ronnie, and others, and then I'm going to get into all this news. A lot of it's broken since we got on air. Nanny state, walking is dangerous, they're now saying. I'm not joking. That dovetails with another report we've got about the insane nanny state, 10 points that just show how incredible it is. Ron Paul confronts Bernanke. Do you buy your own groceries? It's like when George Herbert Walker Bush didn't know what a scanner was at the grocery store about a decade after they were out. Also, Professor Pervert, interspecies genocide, reduce current human numbers. We're going to be breaking that down. Also, Obama issues policy directive exempting American cities from indefinite detention. That is just some of what we're going to be covering here today. But right now, without further ado, let's go ahead and go to your phone calls. Carl in Texas, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex. How you doing, man? You there?
Good, sir. Welcome.
Hey.
Yes.
You know, on the topic of Ron Paul, you know, I mean, we just need to flat out support him. I mean, no matter what these globalists try to do, we just need to back up this guy no matter what comes around. As we follow people, you know, and just like what the filmmakers were talking about, you know, we always want to follow something. They made some mention is, you know, when you follow the money, you see who's in charge. I was thinking about this. I said, you know, you ought to come up with a T-shirt that actually says, you know, follow the eugenics and you'll see who's in charge. And on the back of the T-shirt, it should say, and who's the target? You. I mean, that's what it really comes right down to. It's really what you said a few weeks ago. You know, it's not about the money. This isn't about money at all. This is about eugenics. And if you can really wrap your head around this, you'll see why guys like Ron Paul, you know, are going to be ostracized. They're going to be put out there and lied about and talked down about. And you're going to have guys like
You're
Obama,
right.
You know,
You're right. It's about total... Sure. It's about total takeover of human destiny. That's winning, according to the globalists. It's like many cultures would take over another culture and kill everybody. That is what total domination is to scientifically take control of the whole society, dumb people down, more easy to control. This has been done by design. Humanity is easy to lift up if you have the right leadership and if you have the resources. The globalists have done everything they can to suppress it. We could have unlimited resources, unlimited technology, unlimited history, and science shows that. And listen, I totally agree with you wholeheartedly. We've got 100% support Ron Paul because the globalists are scared of him. They hate him. It's the message. It's the liberty. It's the freedom that's cutting across political lines. That's why they've pulled out every stop and every fraud and every lie. And he has been the front runner. I'm saying look out for the bandwagon effect because they've blocked him winning all these primaries that he really won. The evidence is overwhelming. I've already covered it. Because now some people who are weak-minded will start piling onto the other candidates. But regardless, look where we've come from 4 years ago. Look at how nobody knew 10 years ago the Federal Reserve was private, maybe 1 out of 100. Now it's 90+% of people. We are making headway. What's popular with the young people? Listen, I just drove through 3 or 4 states, and I had a few older people come over to me who were listeners. But everywhere, when I'd be walking the dogs on the beach, driving to the Florida Panhandle or in Orlando or wherever I went, everywhere, young people of every race, color, creed, religion. I mean, I was out yesterday morning on the beach in Panama City, Florida, Panama Beach, Florida, whatever it's called, little town. And there were all these pre-spring breakers, college students and high school students out there playing Frisbee. And literally half of them that would walk by me while I was walking dogs or just sitting there on the beach making phone calls came over and were huge listeners and knew all about the New World Order. I mean, literally, half of the college students knew who I was. Once 1 came over, 10 would come over. And I couldn't walk into the little hotel we were staying at there. What was it? The Sandpiper or something. Without going, that's him. That's Alex Jones. And this is with my hair sticking up, wearing shorts and a T-shirt. I mean, and again, I'm not bragging, ooh, people know who I am. It's actually creepy because it's dangerous. You know, because I know I'm having an effect. The globalists certainly don't like this. We're having such a big effect that half the young people I walk past are awake. Now, I'd go in a diner full of older folks, snowbirds down there, and 1 person was looking at me and knew who I was out of probably 50 people in the small diner that morning. Okay, so none of the old people knew who I was, and the young people all did. What does that tell you? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, what you're saying. I mean, you woke me up a few years ago. This is right when Obama came in office and when the Obama deception came out. I woke up to this whole thing with the Federal Reserve. And I know I read some Robert Kiyosaki books, too, and all the stuff about, 2008 and the crash and blah, 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 because he wrote some book, too. And, I went to this thing called IOUSA. It was some documentary that came out with the former comptroller and his cronies. It was David Walker and this Concord Coalition. Mm-hmm. We went over there to Rice University and sat down, and we listened to him. And, we watched a documentary, but at the end of the documentary, the credits were rolling, and he had this pink piggy bank that said save money. And I go, well, that's self-contradictory. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, if money's going to fall apart and we're in this debt, why would we want to save money? So he came back.
They're telling you, exactly, they're telling you pay them off, which is all fiat fraud they created. Pay them back when you already bailed them out with the bailout money. They're telling you sit there and just save so they can raise taxes and steal it all. And again, I'm not saying it's bad to save at one level of the equation. But yeah, all their advice that they're putting out is how to rip people off. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, he said it was quasi-government, because I said, is it privately held, the Federal Reserve, or is it government-run? Well, I already knew that, and, I was flip-flopping because I was a little nervous talking to him because I was in a crowd of people and whatnot. But I made my comment, and the woman that was standing behind me, a 70-year-old woman, it's on video, by the way. You can get on riceuniversity.org, something. It's on there. I can give you guys a link. But this lady that was standing behind me, 70-plus-year-old lady, she proudly, unfortunately, she was proud of this, she said, I am going to tell you that I served on the Federal Reserve Board, and I can tell you right now that it is not government-run, that it is a privately held entity. And I said, wow, she told the truth. And it was, the rest of the room was just sitting there, and it's too bad they didn't have the camera pan to the rest of the room, but, it was quiet. Just dead silence.
Wow. Something else happened here today. I said just calls on Ron Paul, and these are the best callers we ever have. And the callers are great, but I don't screen them. And so folks call in who are all over the map. And I say, Ron Paul, every caller has just been incredible gold today and has been so enlightening. That's why I probably should every day say, here's the topic. We're talking about this, because then people call in who actually want to discuss something real. But again, it is the young people that are waking up. Either older folks are already awake, or they're partially awake, or they're totally asleep and you're not going to wake them up because they don't want to be woken up. But going back to what you're talking about here, it's all coming down right now. And people are either going to join the side of liberty or they're going to try to go down with the ship. But I want to be able to pull up this video you're talking about. So tell us the name of the event, and then give us an idea of when in the event it was, and then people should be able to find it.
What I can do is more talk off the phone, because I have to kind of Google it. I'll find it. I actually burned it on DVD. I actually have it. So if I have to mail it to you and you can watch. Yeah,
but what was the name of the event? What was the name of the university again?
It was. You can Google IOUSA, Rice University, Concord Coalition. It's hard because that's all I can mention. David Walker. Type in just key names. But what I can do is I'll have to find it somehow. But I don't want to divert. Sure. I do want to say, look, man, I really support what Ron's doing. He's been talking about this for 35, 40 years. You can watch his older videos. He hasn't changed his message. So a lot of people think, oh, where's this guy come around? Well, he's been talking about this for years. So it's not anything that's new. He's just been the same, and people don't like that. They don't like someone that's going to keep consistent with their story. It's like
they don't like people that are proven right. And I appreciate your call. Great points. The reason Ron Paul's so dangerous is because he's been the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He was right, and it shows that their system is a fraud by design. He's so right. We're so right. That's why we're the dangerous bad men, because the crooks know if people get wise to this, it's game over. Their crimes are so cartoon level, out of control. It's over. Now, as for the Federal Reserve being private, to these lawyers, in a way, what he said is true. Well, it's quasi-private, quasi-government. And in a way, that's true. Back when they used to say it's the Federal Reserve, it's government,